The island of Sodor is the home of the Northwestern Railway, with engines of all shapes and sizes, working hard to deliver goods and passengers to their destinations. There are branch lines that run along the coast of the island, serving the docks, the fishing villages, and the seaside towns. There are branch lines that run to the farms, quarries, and ancient castles of the island's heartland. And there is the main line, which runs all the way from Knapford on the west coast of the island to Vickerstown in the east. The line continues over the Vickerstown Bridge, where it connects to the mainland beyond. No laughing matter. One day, Oliver was shunting ballast trucks to the hopper. Okay, start filling when you're ready. The ballast trucks were in a foul mood. As Mike was shunting them into place, they surged forward. Go on! Go on! Mike tried to control the trucks, but it was too late. The trucks plunged up the chute and on top of Oliver, denting his boiler and spilling ballast all over. Oliver's crew quickly dropped the fire so they could survey the wreckage. You silly trucks! Over on the Farquhar branch line, a special order had been fulfilled at the quarry from a customer on the mainland. Rosie and Mavis were very busy shunting trucks under the hoppers, and Toby, offered by the Fat Controller, came to help with the deliveries to the junction. This meant that Thomas and Stanley were to look after the jobs along the branch line. Or so they thought. The two tank engines were surprised when the Fat Controller came to see them. He told them about the incident with Oliver and that he had to go to the works. I don't know how long he'll be out of action, and I need an engine to look after the ballast trains on the Little Western. Donald is looking after Oliver's passengers, and Douglas is helping out on the Harvard line with Ryan, and Duck is also looking after his passengers too. So I need Stanley to look after the ballast trains. But sir, gasped Thomas, who will look after the trucks here? Percy will do the work for now until I find another engine. So that is what he did. Stanley puffed his way to the Little Western, while Percy made his way to Farquhar, and the two engines looked after the jobs for the day. Later that day, the Fat Controller came to see the engines. I made arrangements with the Great Central Railway over at Loughborough to have one of their engines work here until Stanley returns. I think you two might know him well. The next morning, Thomas and Percy were resting in the sheds as their drivers and firemen came to start work. A shrill whistle soon woke them up. I know that sound, peeped Percy. It's... Yes, it's me. Chinty, how are you? It's been a very long time. Years ago, before Percy moved to Kirk Ronan, Percy took stone trucks from the quarry to Barron Furnace on the mainland. There he would meet Ginty and his friends and tell them stories about his adventures on the island. They soon became friends after that. Percy, it's good to see you, mate. How are you doing? Percy was soon chatting away about his adventures. After Percy and Ginty caught up, Ginty looked towards Thomas and smiled. So how are you, Thomas? Haven't bashed into any more buffers, I hope? Ho ho ho, that was rather funny. But Thomas didn't think it was funny one bit, and he steamed away to take his first train of the day. Silly, huffed Ginty, but Percy was quick to defend. Thomas was a different engine back then, but it's no laughing matter, Ginty. Well, Thomas wasn't a careful engine. He was going on all about himself and how famous he was, all because he was in a book. He deserved that crash. Now just wait a minute. But before Percy could say anything else, his driver said, "Come on, Percy, we're heading for home now." So he collected his brakeman and he puffed away. "I hope they resolve their differences soon," Percy said to himself. Ginty worked hard all day. His trains were on time, and the trucks hadn't caused any trouble for him. "Very good work indeed," he said as he pulled into the sheds that night. "Trains are all on time today, all thanks to me. What have you done today, Thomas? Have you kept a good lookout, or have you bashed into any more buffers today?" Thomas fumed at Ginty's joke. He had enough. "If you're going to keep up with that joke, I don't want to be in the same shed as you. One day, it'll all come back to you. I have more common sense when it comes to buffers, Thomas. Unlike you, sensible engines like myself always think." Thomas puffed crossly away to sleep in the carriage shed instead. The next day, Ginty was shunting Annie, Clarabelle and Elsie into the station ready for Thomas's first train. After he was uncoupled, he was ready for a runaround. Ginty puffed towards the buffers as slowly as he could. His driver was looking out as they trundled along, until something distracted him. The driver kept looking at the scene, until... "Ginty! The buffers! Oh no!" replied Ginty, as the driver applied the brakes, but the rails were slippery, and it was too late. Everyone was shocked. The driver shut off steam. Later, a crowd of people came to see the commotion as the emergency services arrived to check on Ginty's crew. Luckily, they weren't hurt, but they were shocked by the whole thing. Ginty was embarrassed. Luckily, Ginty wasn't off the rails completely. Thomas shunted his coaches into a siding, and then he puffed towards Ginty. "Oh great," thought Ginty. "I'll never hear the end of it from him." But Thomas didn't say anything. He just pulled Ginty back onto the rails and placed him in a siding near the station. Then he shunted his train to the station and waited for his passengers to get on board. The train was late, but the passengers understood the reason behind it all. Thomas looked towards Ginty and felt sympathetic to his situation. Ginty said nothing. He just looked at his buffers, feeling sorry for himself. The Fat Controller arrived on board Percy.
"Ginty, what happened?"
Ginty and his driver explained everything.
"Oh dear," groaned the Fat Controller. "Percy, you'll stay here on the branch line to look after the goods. I'll make the same arrangements that I did for you a couple of days ago. As for you, Ginty, I'll send the inspector to look over you for any damage.
Yes, sir, replied Ginty.
As for you, driver, I hope you learn today that you need to keep a good lookout in future.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. When Thomas came back for his second train, Ginty said, Go ahead, laugh at me. Why? Your accident is nothing to laugh about. But this is karma. I cracked jokes about your accident, and now look at me. I will not laugh about it, though I believe it serves you right after all the teasing, replied Thomas. I'm sorry that my teasing hurt you, Thomas. I was just jealous that you were in a book and that everyone knows your name. When you bashed into those buffers all those years ago, I laughed out of spite. But I was a young engine then, looking back. Please forgive me. Then Thomas smiled. Well, you've owned up, so I'll forgive you. I will admit, though, I was silly to act all boastful about my race with Bertie just to impress you all those years ago. I'm sorry for making you jealous. The two engines laughed and chatted amongst themselves like old friends. One of Thomas's passengers was the inspector. He came to see Ginty and started to inspect the damage. Then he gave his final order. You only have a few scratches on your buffers from the damage, Ginty. Nothing too serious, as you weren't going too fast. You'll be fit for service come tomorrow morning. Thank you, sir. Percy, who was shunting some trucks nearby, heard everything. So does this mean you two settled your differences? And the two tank engines explained. Percy was pleased. I'll take that as a yes. Over the next few days, Ginty did more of Stanley's jobs until he returned from the Little Western. Later, it was time for Ginty to head for home. I hope you come back again soon, called Thomas. Hope so too, but you're always welcome at the Great Central, Thomas, called Ginty, and he puffed away out of sight as he headed for his railway at Loughborough.